Good afternoon, everyone. 4 o'clock straight up on a Monday edition of On Quinones, and we are powered and brought to you by our wonderful friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. 20% off your first purchase. You'll check out that in the show notes, BYP20, when we do our gambling segment later on in the program, also in the week on this, the 1st of September, 2025. Labor Day. And it struck a chord with me. And I'm going to tell you why. Because it's a Monday. It's a man up Monday. It's a Mentioso Lunes Manolo man up Monday edition of Middays with Q. Which means we basically call out the BS takes, the picks, and the opinions over the weekend. And I guess because we're just shy of 4 o'clock Eastern time, I like to come on, I dabble. I like to come on a minute or two, a little early. And I believe after what transpired over the weekend, going into the Texas-Ohio State, going into the hype train that is Arch Manning, going into the March for Arch, for many teams around the NFL, the Heisman hopeful, the odds-on favorite, the generational talent, the best quarterback prospect we've ever seen since Andrew Luck, the namesake, the pedigree, right? The name on the back of the jersey, all the fanfare. Here we go on the road. You're going to smoke Ohio State, winning by 10, winning by 14, winning by 15. Hell, with the number be damned. Just go out and win the game and show out, right? And sell out and show up, because anything less for a quarterback making what? His fourth career start, albeit on the road against the defending champs in Ohio State in a hostile environment, anything less than today, many would come on, and as they typically do, the talking friggin' heads, they sit there and wow, they turn around and what do? They want to blast Arch Manning. They want to call him a fraud. They want to say the kid stinks. The kid can't play. Get him the hell out of there. Bench him, sit him. He's horrible. He doesn't have the Manning blood in him. Absolutely not. Well, listen, this is what transpired. And it's pretty much, a microcosm of the afternoon for Arch Manning. The first play of the game, first offensive play of the game, he has an opportunity to hit a wide open wide receiver, and he short arms it. That was pretty much the theme of the day in their 14-7 loss against Ohio State. The hype train got derailed. The hype train got derailed big time. 17 of 30, a $170, a touchdown, a bad pick, a couple bad sacks, and a couple reads that you say to yourself, what the hell was this kid thinking? What was he seeing? But then again, did we expect anything less, anything more? I mean, what is it? Are we hyping up these guys to the point where we don't even give them a shot, a chance to friggin' breathe? Is this what we do now? I told you this on Friday. I told you this on Friday's show. I said no matter what, we were going to come on the air on Monday and we were going to sit there and say this kid's the next coming of Jesus or he stinks. There's going to be no in between because it's an overreaction. Now, should he be criticized? Yes, absolutely. Is it fair to take a couple shots here at Arch Manning and say the kid didn't perform well? Yeah, 100%. 100%. There's nothing wrong with saying the kid didn't play well. He played poorly. You want to sit there and say it was jitters? You want to sit there and say it was nerves? You want to sit there and say it was a pretty damn good defense that he was facing on the road? Those are all valid points. Those are all fair. That's not out of bounds. There's nothing wrong with saying the kid didn't play well. But the problem I have today is how, again, a cup of coffee, a handful of snaps, and we wanted to coordinate this kid. We wanted to stick him as that top five. We wanted to stick him as that top one overall draft pick, that Heisman hopeful, a Hall of Fame quarterback before he even gets reps that are meaningful in college. Period. Period. So again, you guys, I know where you want to go today with some of your comments and some of your thoughts. And listen, I blame some of these talking heads. The Orlaskis, the Klatts, the Feinbaums, the Stephen A's, the solitary Stephen. Like, shut up already. Stop trying to stick these kids in the Hall of Fame before they even played a snap. You did the same thing with Shedeur Sanders. You're doing the same thing with Arch Manning. Why? Because we're looking at the name, the back of the name, the pedigree, the namesake, right? The namesake. I mean, is it possible this kid just went up against a pretty damn good defense? Is it possible that this kid, who doesn't even look like he can friggin' shave yet, got rattled, got nervous? Is it possible the offensive line didn't bail him out, didn't help him out? The offensive scheme didn't help him out? He didn't make some throws? Can we credit Ohio State? Can all that be true? Can all that be true before we sit there and say this kid stinks? Because that's what everyone wants to do today. They want to sit there and say, "This, I can't believe they." That's the media, man. Don't blame the kid. Did he need to make some plays? Yes. 100%. I will tell you, I was texting my buddies and I watched every single snap of that game. And I went back and I watched the game twice. There were throws that he should have made that he didn't make. There were plays that were alarming. But then late in the game, when he misses a wide open first down throw, what does he do? He comes back with that second down tossed right in the breadbasket. I mean, look, the Buckeyes, you have a defensive coordinator, their new defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia, who, oh, by the way, has played in the NFL, coached in the NFL. He's been around the block. His scheme absolutely rattled Manning. They didn't do anything offensively in the first half. 79 yards, 6 punts. They struggled. It was glaring. And the defense basically kept them out, of the end zone. They did a great job. Ohio State's defense did a hell of a job. They picked up their offense. And the afternoon belonged to that defense. It was really more about that defense. And Manning, listen, you can get on the kid. He played poorly. He took the brunt of it. He held himself accountable. That's what you want in a young player. You want a young player to hold himself accountable. The kid played poorly. He's 21 years of age. I'm not giving him a pass. He deserves criticism. Absolutely. But it doesn't mean he's going to stink. It doesn't mean his career is over. It doesn't mean you should sandbag him. It doesn't mean he needs to get benched. This was a classic example of a young kid, a player, again, who could not meet the moment. That's all. That's all that was. It was a young kid that got overwhelmed by the moment, and we've seen it. We've seen it before from young quarterbacks, but there are plays, if you're going to hype up a kid like that, there are plays that you have to make. Yes, you can sit there and you can do the X's and O's. You can break down the scheme, the check downs, not letting him throw the ball down the field. But I also saw him miss some wide open plays that if I'm going to hype you up and you're going to be a Heisman hopeful and the best quarterback coming out next year, you got to make these throws. Come on, I'm sorry. You can't have it both ways. We can't get on these other quarterbacks, these young quarterbacks who've had a cup of coffee or a handful of snaps, or we're hyping them up. And then we don't give them a pass to only give Arch Manning a pass. You can't do it today. You can't. But this is more about some of the talking heads that build these kids up so fast. Like, shut up already. Let them play. This kid is not a horrible quarterback. He's not. He had a bad day. He had an absolutely Bad day. That's why I was like, pump the brakes. If the kid goes 18 of 25 for 266, 3 touchdowns, you guys want to sit there and say he's the Heisman. But if he goes 17 of 30 for a buck 70, a touchdown and a pick, then we want to sit there and say the kid's trash. He stinks. You can't. We can't have it both ways, folks. We can't. Does he deserve criticism? Yes, absolutely. Is he above reproach in that? No, because his last name's Manning. No, no. There are things he can fix. There's things he's going to need to improve upon. There are pressing issues, but some of the throws, if you want to be considered a generational talent, if you want to be considered the best quarterback in the country, if you want to be considered potentially a Heisman Trophy winner, potentially if you come out the #1 draft pick in next April's draft, then you have to friggin' put the ball on the button. And more times than not, he wasn't able to do that with a clean pocket, by the way. With a clean pocket. But I'm not writing the kid off today. I'm not going to sit there and say he stinks. Okay? I'm not going to say that. And again, you look around college football, what the hell happened this weekend? I mean, Alabama, Nick Saban ain't walking through that door. Miami, gut check time. Clemson, LSU, that was a stinker of a game. I mean, the SEC stinks, man. I mean, Georgia taking out frustration on poor little Marshall. Week 1, we overreact. We do the same thing in the NFL. We overreact. We're going to watch that game on Thursday night when the Philadelphia Eagles open up the season against the Dallas Cowboys, and whether the Eagles win it 31-17, 31-6, or 31-23, we're going to overreact on Friday because that's what we do. And everyone's doing the same friggin' thing on a Monday. Now, I'll man up in this regard. I thought Texas was going to win the game. But again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you right now. I'm not going to tell you, for this day that, let's be honest, that this is all on Arch Manning. It's not all on Arch Manning. And I'm not going to sit there and say, let's not give credit to Ohio State. You have to give credit to Ohio State. You have to. But what did we take away from week 1 in college football? Like, let's not hype everyone up. Can we sometimes have a little patience? Are we asking too much? I mean, did anyone walk away from that game saying that Arch Manning is the best quarterback in college right now? Probably not. Did anyone walk away from that game and say Arch Manning stinks? Maybe a handful of people. But the reality is the truth's going to lie somewhere in between at the end of the day with this kid. Just like it is with young quarterbacks. I mean, that was a tough ask, man. That is a tough ask to go on the road, to open up the season in a hostile environment against a pretty damn good defense when you've had a handful of college snaps and go out and win the game. Go out and win the game. That was a tough ask. And listen, they were still in the game. That's a 7-0 game going into the locker room. And both offensive, respectively, did nothing. I mean, the kid Sayin had a decent game. He was efficient. His stats didn't blow you away. I mean, even Ohio State couldn't rush the ball. Texas was able to run the ball. I think that's why they turned around, and a lot more times they were hoping they would try to establish the run a little more than not have Arch Manning throw the ball down the field. But he underwhelmed. He was not ready for it was too much, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to sit here and panic. And NFL teams are not going to sit there and panic after one Saturday afternoon. Texas, your fan base, the Longhorns, you shouldn't panic. You shouldn't. But just slow the hype down. With all these young quarterbacks, listen, everyone was guilty of doing it with Shedeur Sanders. People were still guilty of doing it with Peyton Manning coming out. They were guilty of doing it with Andrew Luck. Slow it down. Let it play out. Let it play out, because ultimately it's a long season in college football. And this team might rip off 6, 7, 8 wins in a row, and this kid might look legit. And we're not going to remember week one. We're going to say, yeah, it was a bad debut. The hype train got derailed for one Saturday afternoon, but it's not the end of the world. It's not. It's not the end of the world. But does he warrant criticism today? Yes. Yes. Man chimes in. May never say banker hours ever again. Working on Labor Day. It's dedication. This is what we do. And you guys chime in. This is what we do. We're here for you. The bank might not be open, but on cue is. That's what we do. Arch just ain't that dude. A generational talent could have come back for the horrible for that horrible interception. You're going to judge this kid after one friggin' Saturday afternoon on the road against Ohio State de facto? Come on, man. This is what I'm saying. You're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. You're going to sit here and write this kid off and say he's not that dude. You know what? Maybe they win 8, 9 games this year. And maybe at times he struggles. Maybe at times he goes 25 of 28, 25 of 32 for 288 and a couple touchdowns and some wins. He's 21 years of age. See, the problem is, again, we did it with other players. We're doing it with Sanders. We slapped the back of the name. Our opinion's basically focused on the last name. You know, you take away Arch Manning, is Joe Smith. You guys think, all right, well, this kid stinks. You know, you change Shedeur Sanders' name to, Sam Johnson. You're like, he's all right. But the problem is, from a media standpoint, everything is built up. That's why I get so tired. I don't even listen to this crap during the week. I don't even flip it on a Monday morning to see what everyone said, because you know it's the same nonsense. What take is different? You're going to have people that are going to uberly crush the kid and uberly defend the kid. I'm trying to be in between. Because I saw throws that I was like, that's a pretty damn good throw. Late in the game, second down throw. That was an NFL throw. But then I saw some throws where I'm like, that ain't it, man. Like, you got to make that throw. And a couple plays, listen, receivers drop the football. That happens. But just settle down with the hype. Scott chimes in, that's pretty damn good Ohio State defense. Texas ran the ball okay, but I thought Ohio State defense and Texas defense deserve credit. Yeah, it was one of those games. I thought Ohio State's defense really made some plays. And I thought Texas at times, to be honest, Scott, kind of went away from the run, especially in that third quarter. And that fourth quarter, I just, there were some plays, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, couple back-to-back incompletions. Those are throws you got to have. And, again, we can go back and we can sit there and you can break down the film. You can talk about some of the play calling, but also give credit, as you guys mentioned, to Ohio State's defense. What's up, Vince? Up, people? Great to have football back. Jimmy Haslam, Andrew Barry. We're in attendance for 170 yards. The Browns' future looks depressing. Hey, after one game, man, let's not write the kid off after one game, okay? And who's to say he was going to go to Cleveland? It could be the kid from Clemson, right? We will see if your Arch Manning gets redemption against SJSU next week. I mean, these are not my guys, right? They're not my guys. Slinging Sammy Darnold, I rooted for the kid, not my guy. Arch Manning, sure, I want to see the kid play well, but not my guy. My guy right now, I got to let Russ cook, and it's got to be Jackson right on the dart. Those are my guys right now, even though I can't stand Russ Wilson. It's week one. It's one game. And I do believe some of it, again, I think it's just a media, it's a hype driven, it's the media, man. It really is. It really is. We want to stick these kids in the Hall of Fame so fast. We really do. Listen, the kid's 21. He wasn't ready for the moment. That happens. I text my buddy and I said, nerves. It's nerves. That's all it was. Here's another thing. Coaching too plays in a lot. I heard a lot of people say you watched that Alabama game last night, and they didn't show up over the weekend. Pardon me, against Florida State. That was a disgrace. Nick Saban's not walking through that door. That's an Alabama team that did not even show up against arguably, a team in Florida State that we all believe wasn't going to do anything. And by the way, credit to the kid from Florida State, the quarterback that ran his mouth. Even Costco's like, this kid's running his mouth. 9 of 14, a buck 52, added 78 on the ground, 200 and something odd yards, a touchdown. They put up 31. And I'm not sold. Alabama typically is a very good team running the football. They couldn't run against Florida State. Florida State, they ran all over Alabama. But I heard people sit there and say, man, Saban ain't walking through that door. And if Saban would have watched a film on this team, he would probably cut about 10 players for lack of effort and boneheaded mistakes and plays. It is also about coaching too, and coaching guys up. Now, is that a surprise over the weekend? That was a surprise. My Miami Hurricanes, not a surprise. Told you on Friday, loved Miami. That's a gut check win for Miami against a team I cannot stand. You guys know that. I cannot stand Notre Dame. You got UNC tonight as well. And then South Carolina against Virginia Tech. South Carolina, that was a team that I told Nick Costco, and I also mentioned to John Bueller, I thought they could be a sleeper, and they got a nice win. So it's only 1 week. It's only 1 week. This is a perfect film to watch to get better for him. It is. You're talking about Arch Manning, 100%. 100%. I'm hearing way too many people say the U is back for 1 win. It was a good win, but Cristobal has proven that his problems arise later in the season versus unranked opponents. That is a good win by Miami. It was a bad loss, for the Coach Prime fans out there. Horrible clock management, Colorado. What are you doing? Where are the Prime guys today, man? Where are the Coach Prime guys? Where are the defenders of Dion today? Just piss poor clock management late in that game, man. Ha! Horrible. Horrible. I love that win from Miami. That was a gut check win, man. That was a gut check win. Carson Beck, he's a player. But again, they did something a handful of teams were able to do in week 1. They were able to run the friggin' football. They averaged right around 4.2 yards a carry. They rushed for 127. Notre Dame offensively really didn't do anything. They didn't. I mean, look, they were able to hang in the game because of Carr, right? I mean, he accounts for 3 touchdowns. But other than that, I wasn't overly impressed by Notre Dame, but I just thought that was a nice win for Miami. They had to dig in late, and that's what you want. They had to dig in late, and you get the clutch field goal. You draw that field goal from 47 yards out from Davis. Had a room to spare. That was a nice win for Miami to start the season. Yeah, and they've got winnable games. They got who do they have? Bethune-Cookman coming up, South Florida. Now they'll be tested in a couple weeks when they play Florida, and they have that game at home. Then they go on the road against Florida State, and who knows? Florida State might be feeling themselves a little bit after their big win, right? Then they got what, East Texas A&M, or they got Texas A&M. Who the hell do they have? East Texas A&M? I don't even know. Yeah, Texas A&M they got coming up. Kent State, Virginia, they might be 4-0. Week 1, guys. Week 1. Arch's stock is definitely cratering at the moment. I don't know. Death Star Mike's working fine, man. It's working absolutely fine. It is picture perfect, madman. On Manolo, Lunas, Mentioso, Man Up Monday edition of On Cue, by the way. I think South Carolina will be something to watch out for. Yeah, I agree. D chimes and Q, you're right. It is the media. It's the overhype machine. But guys like you were talking these players up as well. Who am I talking up? Honestly, I think I was kind of even keel, to be quite honest with you, D, with some of these players, because I always say pump the brakes, let it play out. I say it a lot. Let it play out. Nussmeier looked his best in my opinion and played well, but can't judge that game. You cannot. Listen. You have to There are some games this weekend in college or this past weekend in college where, Clemson, look, here's a perfect example. Aside from Arch Manning, were we not hyping up, or was the media not hyping up Klubnik? That kid didn't do anything spectacular. He didn't. Now, GN, Nussmeier, quarterback played well. Very efficient, throwing the ball down the field, taking some shots. But I go back to what? Running the friggin' football. LSU ran for a $110. Clemson ran for what? 31. We hyped these guys up way too fast. Way too fast. We compared the play of Carr for Notre Dame as a redshirt freshman versus Arch, a freshman, redshirt sophomore. They looked very different. Carr threw on his first 6-7 plays and looked comfortable all game. Arch actually started to settle down a little bit in the fourth quarter. He did make some throws, but yeah, listen, it's just I'm not pro Arch. There's no you're just talking out of your ass. Seriously, you're just talking out of your ass. I'm pro Jaden Daniels. I'm not pro and I'm not negative Arch Manning. I can't even speak too much because, to be honest, I haven't seen enough of the kid. Like, seriously. Why? Because his last name's Manning, which is just asinine. That's a lazy ass take. That's not going to be tolerated. Why? Because his last name's Manning. I got to be pro Manning. No, I don't have to. I'm literally coming on the air saying the kid didn't play well. I'm literally coming on the air saying if you're going to be a first round draft pick, a top, number one overall pick, Heisman hopeful, franchise quarterback going forward in the NFL, if you leave this year, you have to make certain friggin' throws. I'm literally coming on the air saying the moment was too big for him. I mean, what do you want me to say? I'm not going to crucify the kid, but the kid didn't play well. I don't care if Arch Manning plays well or not, to be quite honest with you. The Giants have their quarterback. It's Jackson Dart. So let's, I know you guys want to try to needle me and prod a little bit, but that ship has sailed, brother. They got their quarterback. I'm not even, if Arch Manning plays well, great. If he doesn't, I'm still going to come on the air and have my opinion on Arch Manning. I don't set out. I don't want to see players fall on their ass. I really don't. I don't want to see a kid like Shedeur Sanders sit and hold a clipboard the rest of his career. Do I think he's going to get a shot to start? Maybe. Do I think Arch Manning is going to have a shot to redeem himself? Yeah, I think so, but that doesn't necessarily mean Texas is going to win a boatload of games and this kid's going to win the Heisman and be the top overall draft pick in April. Like, you guys got friggin' selective hearing. There you go. Manning namesake is part of it, cute. The hype, yes, but not my opinion on him because I'm killing the kid. I think I've been critical of the kid. Kevin says I'm being overly critical of him. Sarge says I'm burying the kid. I got Mike in Ohio, who's Ohio State, says, Q, relax. It was his first game, tough game on the road. Like, it's the hype, just like Shedeur Sanders was hyped up because of Dion, and Arch is going to get hyped up because of his father and then his uncles. You got Cooper, you got Eli, and you got Peyton, and you got his grandfather, Archie Manning. So yes, that's what the media is going to do. If their names were Joe Johnson and Joe Jack, we're probably not even having these conversations. That kid went on the road against Ohio State, tough out. That kid, had a couple of spots here and there as a fourth, fifth round draft pick, second team, third team, taking the roughs for Cleveland. It's got no bearing on what I'm going to do. It's got no bearing on me sleeping during night. I'm still going to sleep. It really doesn't matter. All I'm saying is my problem is with the overreaction, because that's what we do. My problem is they hype everyone up so fast. It's like, a lot of guys got to man up today, man. They really do. A lot of them have to man up. A lot of talking heads need to just pump the brakes and honestly just shut up. They really do. Because some of them, they might be on national TV. They might get paid a lot of money. They're not qualified to speak on certain things. They're absolutely clueless. They're absolutely clueless. You can't tell me if you watch that game over the weekend, if you watch that game Saturday, that this kid at this moment is the Heisman Trophy winner. And you also can't tell me if you watch that game on Saturday that this kid stinks. He's the worst quarterback in college football. I mean, just stop. We go from these extremes. He's going to have an opportunity to redeem himself. And if he plays well, I'll give him credit. If he turns around, they rip off 6, 7, 8 wins, and they're in the BCS, they're in the playoffs, and they win it all, no one's going to remember this game. Or we're going to sit there and say, you know what? Good for him. That was a tough game on the road to open up the season. He was rattled. He couldn't block it out. He made mistakes. He played just a piss poor game, but the kid came back. That's the Manning gene that we talk about. Now you'll see. Now you'll see. Now you'll see. Stop putting Sanders with Arch. Sanders showed it out when the pressure was on against Caleb Williams. He put up 4. Vince, go away today. Stop. Go away. Stop. I don't need the nonsense today. I'm not comparing the two. I'm talking about their last names. What do you guys have? Friggin' selective friggin' hearing on Labor Day? Did you have too many pops? You smoking and joking? What do you got there? Get ready with tea? A little Three Brooks bourbon? A little hash? A little Mary Jane? A little marijuana? I'm not comparing the two. What I'm comparing is the hype. I don't give a shit what Sanders did with friggin' Jackson State and Colorado. I don't care. Let me see what he does now in the pros. And quite frankly, I don't care if Arch Manning would have won 25 of 30 for 288 and 3 touchdowns against Ohio State and won the game. I need to see more. I'm not sticking any of these guys in the Hall of Fame, so I'm not comparing quarterback to quarterback. What I'm saying is ultimately the narrative is always the names. The hype always is driven because of the names and from some of the national members of the media. And they need to pump the brakes. They need to pump the brakes. This is not black or white. This is not, Shador and Arch. This is not Dion and Eli and Dion and it's not. It's about the quarterbacking position now in college and the pros and just the nature of the media to overhype everything, to overreact every friggin' time. If Washington goes out and Jaden Daniels gets sacked 5 times against the Giants and plays a piss poor game and has 4 interceptions, 3 of them are pick sixes, does that make him any less of a quarterback? Are we going to sit there and say this kid's still not a star? No, we'd be foolish. It's an overreaction because we've seen the body of work. We need to see the body of work of Sanders in the pros, and I need to see the body of work of Arch Manning in college before I sit there and crown and christen these guys the next coming. All-time great quarterbacks. I'm not going to do that. You'd be foolish to do that. You'd be foolish. Everyone's going to look at Klubnik. Oh, this kid's not a Heisman. Yeah, I don't care. Odds drop. It happens. It's just like in the NFL. Kansas City's 3-4. They've dropped 2 or 3. They're plus 350 to win the AFC West. Now they're plus 450. Patrick Mahomes stinks. They rip off 8 in a row. He's the MVP of the league and they win the Super Bowl. Like overreaction. Overreaction. That's all we do. Overreact. It's a Monday, overreact. It'll be Friday with football, overreact. 1 week of college football, overreact. Fire this guy. Get rid of the head coach in Alabama. He's not going to make it. What did they say? He's not going to make it through September. Go have fun with the odds, man. Go have fun because you know why? The odds are going to change. Constantly, they're going to change. Now you can look at all these quarterbacks and all these odds with these teams that are winning, and now you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Arch is now plus 1,600. Yeah, so what? Who cares? Klubnik's at plus 1,600. Now, all of a sudden, because Penn State won, Drew Aller's a stud. Arizona State, Livette, he's a stud. Dante Moore, Oregon quarterback, he's a stud. Stop overreacting and stop comparing apples to oranges, not apples to oranges, or apples to apples, I should say. Just stop. It's a conversation. It's a debate. You guys you're just not going to win. The kid didn't play well. You want to panic if you're a Texas Longhorn fan? Panic away, man. Panic away. But this should now caution everyone. We got to relax when we're talking about these quarterbacks. We have to relax when right away we want to say that, they're an all-time. Listen, these quarterbacks did get hyped up because of their last name. They did. That's the reality. That's the reality. But you still have to go out and you still have to perform and you still have to play. You have to. You have to earn the trust of your teammates. You have to rise to the level in which we're kind of comparing you to. And you had a 21-year-old kid, the first throw when he short armed it, I text my buddy, I said, nerves. It's nerves. You just saw it right from the get-go. Right from the get-go. But college football is back. NFL week 1 kicks off Thursday. How about that? I mean, oh my goodness. Are you guys ready? Because I have a feeling you pain in the asses are going to be relentless during this football season. And I will say this too, with the NFL being back, because I'm excited. I think Thursday is going to get very ugly if you are a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Well, I should say a Dallas Cowboys fan. I think it's going to get very ugly. That line right now sits at 7.5. I can envision a scenario where the Eagles lose this game, but because it is a man up Monday, let me turn around and I'm going to pat myself on the back today because I said something on Friday's show that caught the attention of some regarding Micah Parsons and having his podcast. And then what happens over the weekend, we come to learn that the players, i.e. Dak Prescott, were fed up with this guy doing a pod. And I said this on Friday, it rankled a lot of his teammates. And I also think if we were looking at lists, that was probably number 27 on the list. One of the reasons the Dallas Cowboys traded Parsons, who, oh, by the way, might not even be ready to go against Green Bay. Might not even be ready to go. But week 1 is a couple days away. And then we get Friday. Hello. We get a little Friday football from Brazil. That's a hell of a game, too. Kansas City and the Chargers. Then you get your full slate on Sunday, depending upon the weather. Giants are 1 o'clock, which means by 4:15, 3:30, that game's going to be in the bag for my Washington Commanders, which means, we got a great slate. Niners on the road. Cam Ward on the road against Denver. Niners on the road against the new look Seattle Seahawks. Lions and Packers, oh my. Ravens and the Bills, 8:20. Then you got Monday night. You got the Vikes and the Bears to close it out. Minnesota laying 1.5 points. I feel as though we just got through the NFL season. And now we get through the dog days, you get through the OTAs, you get through, the training camps. We got through the draft, the dog days of summer, and here we are, which means there's going to be a lot of shit talking going on. A lot. And I'm telling you too, let me caution the defending Super Bowl champion and their fan base for a moment before we take a timeout. Let me caution them for a moment because a lot of Eagles fans have been nonstop trolling, heckling, just getting on me. This is not a rite of passage now. Don't think for one moment, because everything broke for you guys last year and you played really good football, that it's going to be this clear-cut, easy path to repeat. Yeah, the odds might say the Eagles out of the NFC, here we go. But not so fast, my friends. Let's pump the brakes because it is such a long season. Now, I, for one, will say one thing. I think the NFC is going to be a lot more compelling than we're used to. And I think we're going to see some dark horse surprises. I think we will see some teams that we did not expect to make the playoffs, let alone compete for divisions, perhaps win the divisions. Who believes anything said by the teams who trade away a guy? It's always propaganda. Grown men who have a problem with grown men don't tell the media, not the other man. I'm just saying. No, it was pretty much known. I think, listen, when you get players cut and released or coaches fired, then people certainly come out of the woodwork. But there were some grumblings last year with his podcast coming out of Dallas that they were not happy with it. They just weren't. I'm not sitting there saying that it was a deciding factor. I told you this. I think Micah Parsons is a very good player. I think he's overrated, and I don't think he's worth the headache, and I wasn't going to pay him $200 million. And I stand on that. I stand on that. But a lot of times, players, they sprout off. They talk, they talk, they talk. Look, Hill, not a captain this year from Miami. You had all those players make apologies. He's not captain. Coaches coach, players play. The GMs and the owners have the final say. And in that case, Jerry Jones said, see ya. And here's the other thing I mentioned too. Everyone that was killing me, and I turned around and said, you don't wish it to happen. Well, what happens if this guy misses the first couple games of the season? He might not even play the first couple weeks. He might not even play. Now, Green Bay, they know all they're thinking about is playoffs. I mean, season hasn't even started. But you got a joint sprain in your back, not good. Sure, shoot him up a little bit. Shoot him up. Get rid of the, give him an anti-inflammatory, maybe a little, cortisone here and there. But who knows if he's going to be 100% early on. And listen, Green Bay, they took a shot. Green Bay decided, we're all in. Here we go. Let's change the complexion of our defense. And this is why they signed him 4 years, $188 million, 120 guaranteed, 136 million in total guarantees. So a player that said, I don't need to be the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history is now the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. But we're going to see exactly where the Green Bay Packers are. There's going to be pressure on the Packers coming out of the North. Detroit Lions are still the team to beat. I don't know what to expect from Minnesota. And the more I think about this, I don't really know what to expect from Chicago and Caleb Williams. Because there's already rumblings coming down in Chicago that he might get benched early. He might get benched early. So we're already talking about that. And basically, you got no one. You guys probably have no idea who the hell their backup quarterback is in Chicago. I mean, we're not even week 1. You got the Giants now. All the reporters are trying to get out of Brian Daboll, who's going to be, again, QB2. And there's a big reason for that. Now, Brian Daboll is not going to come out and say whether it's going to be Jameis Winston or Jackson Dart. My best guess, it's Jackson Dart. My best guess is Jackson Dart will be the backup to Russell Wilson. And my other best guess, and I'll talk a little more about this later in the week, this is just my opinion. I also believe the Giants, they want to start the Jackson Dart era sooner rather than later. And I gave you a game to kind of earmark. On the road against the Saints. Now, typically you don't want to start a rookie on the road, but the Saints aren't going to be a very good football team. And that's kind of my prediction on the record. I'm saying week 4 or week 5, that would be Commanders, Cowboys, Chiefs, Chargers. Week 5 on the road against the Saints. I think the Jackson Dart era begins. Unless Russell Wilson rips off 3 of the first 4 wins and he looks like he's turned back the clock 10 years, I don't see that happening. But Daboll's not going to show his hand. But to me, it makes sense. You have Jackson Dart, the backup to Russell Wilson. I mean, the NFL, the reason the NFL is so special, there's no wiggle room. There's no wiggle room, right? You are spite picking against the Eagles. You even adopted a second team to try to defeat us. First of all, I didn't know you played de facto. How am I spite picking? I basically said the Dallas Cowboys are in for a long night. What are you talking about? Oh, you mean overall? I haven't given my full season predictions. I hold the right to that de facto. You don't tell me how to run the show. No, you don't. Don't even try that nonsense. I haven't even told you who I like coming out of the NFC, and I haven't told you who I like coming out of the AFC. It might surprise you. It might shock you. You might call into question my credibility. You might take away my NFL card, but you have to wait. We'll probably do that Wednesday and or Thursday. We'll do our predictions. Q, did you see Feinbaum's quote, Arch Manning is the best player we've seen from every aspect since Tim Tebow? Tebow was a hell of a college quarterback. Wasn't a very good pro quarterback. Hell of a college quarterback. Kevin C chimes in, cute. Don't look now. Yanks, Yanks, Yanks. Yeah, but Kevin, wow, because you're getting all giddy because of Aaron Judge. Nice little week or two for the Yankees. 2.5 back right now of Toronto. And I said the Yankees were cooked. That's fair. I mean, that's a bad loss to the White Sox, but a nice little run the Yankees have been on. And Judge is, Aaron Judge. Yeah. I saw the Phillies are going to a 6-man rotation. So we'll get in a little more baseball later on in the week. All right, I want to take a quick time out. We'll come back on the other side. I got about 15 or so to play with. A lot more college football talk. We'll get your thoughts on Arch Manning, week 1 in the books in college football. NFL kicks off Thursday night. Philly against the Dallas Cowboys right now. Dallas is about a 7.5-point dog. So a lot of NFL this week. We're dropping new episodes of Back Your Play powered by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. 20% off Fresh Roasted Coffee. Check out the show notes. You can find the show living, breathing, hibernating, of course, hanging out on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts as well. Quick time out. We'll come back on the other side. All right, 444. Got about 10 to play with. Don't forget, we are brought to you by our good friends over at Get Ready with Tea, Three Brooks Bourbon as well. Baseball, let me just get you caught up to speed. A couple scores. Astros right now tacked on another in the Angels. What do we got there? White Sox leading the Twins 6-5. Athletics over the Cardinals 11-2. Braves, who have just been a bad baseball team, leading the Cubbies 1-0. And how about the Brew Crew? The Brewers right now, arguably one of the best teams in baseball, blanking the Philadelphia Phillies. If you're a Phillies fan, you better be worried, man, because if that offense goes south, you shut down Schwarber, that offense is going to, if their bats go quiet again in October, you guys are going to be, it'll be a quick visit in October. And Walker right now getting shelled, getting absolutely shelled, giving up 2 bombs, 4 runs, all earned. Philly's got some issues, man. Yeah, you beat up on the Braves, you take 3 out of 4, that's fine, but you got swept by the Mets. And the Brewers, who haven't really had a nice little run against the Phillies over the last several years, looking to tune them up right now. Now, the Phillies are 5.5 up on the Mets. So if you look at the wild card as it stands, Yanks and Boston 1-2 in the AL, and then in the NL, Chicago, San Diego, the Mets, obviously because the Phillies lead the NL East. They don't have to have that wild card in play just yet, but meaningful baseball right now coming down the stretch. Brewers on top of the Phillies 4-0, who will go to that 6-man rotation, which I mentioned a couple moments ago. So, all right, let me get back to some of these comments. Mike in Ohio chimes in again. Q, you got to give a lot more credit to Ohio State's defense. They were showing a lot of different exotic schemes and blitz packages. I think that threw Arch off his spot. Yeah, it did. I think Scott brought up a great point. The defense of Ohio State was certainly the key. It was one of those keys. Look, it's pretty simple, right? Get to the quarterback, run the football, play good defense. I mean, those are always recipes for winning on any level, whether it's high school, college, and the pros. And I think Ohio State basically said, pump the brakes. It's what Ohio State did. And listen, the SEC's got some issues. Don't get me wrong. And I'll get to the SEC in a second. But as far as Ohio State, and Costco and I talked about this, what would it need what would you need right now, Ohio State? Did they show you that, okay, defensively, they can be a juggernaut? Now, where are they going to get tested going forward? They've got Illinois in 3 weeks. They've got Penn State. That right there, who knows? That can be for the Big Ten. They'll probably meet again, Big Ten championships. But can Ohio State run the table? Grambling, Ohio, Washington, Minnesota, Illinois, Wisconsin, Penn State, Purdue, UCLA, Rutgers, and then they got Michigan to close it out. Defensively, if they play like they did, sure, they're going to shut down a lot of teams. Penn State, Penn State, they put up a lot of points, but again, that's against Nevada. So I'm not going to get too carried away. They're not going to get tested for the next 3 weeks until they play Oregon. And that'll be to close out September. They got FIU coming up in Villanova. Those are winnable games, man. They're going to put up 35-40 respectively. But Ohio State was very impressive. Alabama, like I said, Nick Saban is not walking through that door. That was a horrible showing. A horrible showing, man. And if you really want to give like an honest assessment, that team looks lost, man. I mean, that team. I mean, he didn't throw the ball. He didn't light it up. He was efficient, but he killed him with his legs. He had 78 yards on the ground and a touchdown. He threw for under $160. I mean, you're talking about 23 game season opening winning streak that was snapped. And, that's Saban ain't walking through that door. He's just not. Offensive line was horrible. They gave up sacks. They had drop passes. Guys weren't running routes. The quarterback looked absolutely skittish. He was all over the place. You're talking about one of college football's biggest powerhouses over the last decade. You pencil them in for undefeated BCS championship series, national championship game, Alabama. And wow, you failed to make the college football playoff last year. Coincidentally enough, ironically enough, that's your first season since Nick Saban retired. I mean, it's going to get bad. I mean, you got Georgia next month. You got Tennessee, South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma in consecutive weeks. Remember a couple weeks ago, we talked about best case, worst case scenario for some of these teams. If you're Alabama, you just got through. Your worst case scenario is starting to come to life. Because I don't see many games on their or many wins on their docket. I mean, it's like a doomsday scenario, man. Now, are you going to go out, though, and fire the head coach? I mean, you're going to let this guy survive. I know Orlowski came out and said he's not even going to survive September. But we talked about best case, worst case. And remember, we threw it out there. Is it possible that they're a 8-4 team? 9-3 team. I mean, if this team's 8-4, all hell is going to break loose, right? And I even joked with Costco. I said, "What happens if they stub their toe against Florida State or Wisconsin before they even open up the SEC playing against Georgia on September 27th?" That's my goodness. That's really bad. That's a bad loss. And it shows you coaching. You got to have a recruiter. You got to coach. You got to got the players, right? Brought up my bluffs. Buffaloes, yeah, it was bad clock management for a team picked my money to be bad. They played well against one of the best teams. Wah, wah, wah. Cry me a rumor. ACC has offer. Hey, Vince, I could have told you Pat Shurmur stinks. Right? Listen, I don't owe Tommy C an apology. I didn't. That was Costco. Costco basically said for him not to talk. That wasn't me. You guys see, you're getting your wires crisscrossed. Costco was like, no, that kid shouldn't talk. And I said, oh, if he backs it up, he backs it up. No. Don't even try it. I'm not manning up on that. I'll man up on the other stuff. I'll man up on Arch. I man up on Bama. I man up on Texas not winning the game outright. I'm not manning up on something. I'm not taking the fall, Vince, for something. It's like, being the fall guy, right? You and your buddies, we go out, we hold up a liquor store and we go rob it. All of a sudden, I'm in the car, I'm a getaway car, and you guys fire off some bullets. You're not pinning that on me. You're not pinning that on me. Absolutely no way. That was Costco. We got a new Tommy Castellanos, little cutlets going on. Absolutely not. Harsh words, please. That was Costco ripping that kid. Not manning up. That was horrible clock management. That was horrible. I mean, that clock management that had to drive you crazy. I mean, that's on Dion, by the way. Dion had no clue. Coach Prime had no clue. You have a chance to even things up with less than a minute to play. You got that 61-yarder, right? And then Deion Sanders refused to use 2 remaining timeouts. What was he doing? Did he think he can take them in on a Friday night, on a Saturday? Do they roll over? Right? It's like a coupon. I can save it for another day. Come on, man. That's basic clock management. So you sit there and get on Shermer, that's fine. You got to get on Deion Sanders. You got to get on Coach Prime. That was horrible. Horrible. Wasn't even paying attention, man. Like Homer and the Simpsons just sitting back. Come on, man. That's a frustrating lot. Now, did they do a couple nice things? Yes, they did. But I'm telling you right now, man, for a coach that has had success, right? You also have to possess the trait of understanding necessary fundamentals when it comes to coaching. I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest. So you got a tight game and you don't use the clock properly. That's not an isolated incident, man. That's a bad loss. And if you bet on the game, you're probably even more pissed off because I know some of you guys back Colorado. Oh, I know that for a fact. Don't give me the game was over, scoring 7 points, all 3 turnovers. That timeout wasn't doing anything, and we all know it. Stop. Stop with the juice. Stop with the excuses. You just don't like him, so you slam him any chance you get. You're right. You know my personal feelings towards Deion Sanders. I got you. Yeah. You're in my mind. You're right. Little hamster wheels going up and down. Sure. Mm-hmm. Go back to when they beat TCU and I came on, instant reaction, and I basically said he's going to scare the shit out of college football. College football needed Deion. Go back to that. You don't want to check the tape on that on the YouTube channel. But because I'm being critical of Coach Prime, you got a problem with that. You probably had Colorado on the money line, though, right? You're probably still pissed off because of what transpired in Ireland, Kansas State, and Iowa State. Oh, NFL cannot come. What are you going to do week 1? Your Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Jets. I mean, what are you going to do? You laying some coin in that game, Vincent? Are you going to lay some shekels in that game, or are you going to throw some money on Jacksonville laying 3.5 at home against Carolina, which might be one of my upset specials? Just saying. I'm just saying. Kevin chimes in, Q, that was Costco. That wasn't you. Exactly. Thank you, Kevin. Kevin C. chiming in, North Jersey, Jackson, Jersey. Thank you very much. This is what I need. I need guys to back me sometimes. I just need some guys to back me. No, actually, I did not and do not bet on teams. I like Bud. I was reading that. I think I sent this to my buddy. It's funny that you said Bud. I got to find this. Apparently there's like a list of nicknames that if you call someone, it can almost turn out to here you go. Worst casual nickname to be called. Now, where do you think Bud ranks on that list? Because I've thrown about 7 of these out there. Champ, sport, guy, big guy, Bud, chief, pal, buddy. So Bud right now is at plus 1,000. One of my all-time favorites, Guy and Pal, sitting right at plus 3,000 for Guy. Don't call someone Guy, and don't call someone Pal either at plus 400. And then you got Pipsqueak, which I haven't heard in a long time, 1750. So we're going with the Bud plus 1,000 for you, Vince. All right, there, champ. All right, got to start wrapping up on a Monday. We had the Jersey Shore breaks tomorrow. We've got their golf outing in North Jersey. Hopefully, we'll be back for a Tuesday show. If not, back on the saddle on a Woosah Wednesday. Then we got the NFL in action on Thursday. Dallas and the Eagles. We are doing a big time season preview with all the divisional winners. Also, we'll give you our playoff predictions, our thoughts, and of course, Super Bowl participants as well. And who knows, they might rankle and rough up some feathers. All right, good stuff with the comments, guys. Always appreciate it. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Labor Day. Appreciate you spending time with me. A little bit of time on a Monday edition of On Cue. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Rich Q on Q. You guys have been fantastic. Picked up about another 176 subs over the last 2 weeks. Keep the comments coming. You can follow me on social media. Very easy to do. At Rich Q on Q. Get social with me on X and IG. Also on TikTok, Rich Q on a mic. Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And as always, this has been a Monday edition of On Q. We like to call it a Lunes, Manolo, Mentios, Man Up Monday. Wednesday, Woosah Wednesday, Costco on college football. Lloyd Vance on the NFL. Thursday, Lloyd again will double up. And then football Friday, John Bueller from Fansided. We will go deep into the Eagles and Dallas to start things off. Kansas City and the Chargers also on a Friday night. So we're getting a lot of football fill plus college football, and we will get back to our BYP plays as well. So we'll do Q's picks as well, powered by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee, Three Brooks Bourbon, and of course, get ready with tea. We'll post those out later on in the week. And as I mentioned, BYP, a new episode's dropping on Amazon, Spotify, and Apple Pod. And also, Back Your Play will also be seen in the New York area on Channel 48, TVWON 48. All right, 5 o'clock straight up. Hope you guys enjoyed a Monday edition of On Cue. If you guys are out and about barbecuing, enjoy yourself. Be safe, be sound. Don't drink and drive. Don't text and drive. Have a couple pops. Enjoy yourself. You got college football tonight. I didn't really get into too much UNC. Hopefully tomorrow we'll be able to get a little shortened version of On Cue. I definitely want to get into that game. A lot of eyeballs on Belichick. A lot of eyeballs tonight on North Carolina. Now, can they do what Colorado and Deion did 2 seasons ago? You get that shocking win, right, against TCU. So all eyes will be on the hoodie, and it'll be a reaction or overreaction Tuesday, just like it was week 1 in college football with Arch Manning in Texas and Alabama as well. So, I mean, that's just the nature of the sport, and that's what we do. By the way, if you went in the direction of the home teams this weekend, not bad. Kansas State got the win. SMU got the win. Arizona State got the win. The list goes on and on and on. And you probably hit a lot of your overs too with some of these games. So we'll recap a couple of those marquee ones that we were previewing with Costco last week. We'll see how we did with our picks. And as I mentioned, we'll put the picks up on the YouTube channel at Rich Q on Q. All right, everyone have a good Sports Monday. Back in the saddle, hopefully tomorrow on a Tuesday. If not, Woosah Wednesday edition of On Q. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. Be safe, be sound. Have a wonderful Labor Day. Hasta luego, mi día.